Wellness Show. I'm Dr. Keisha Christian, and we are so glad that you've joined us for another episode. I am so excited about today's episode. Our topic today is about the Special Olympics organization, and we have two excellent physical therapists to share with us how physical therapy has had such great presence within the organization. So without further ado, I introduce and welcome to you Vicki Tilley. Thank you so much for coming. And I call you a physical therapist of excellence because you do so much in the community for Special Olympics, and then you're also an entrepreneur, is that correct?
Yes.
That's,
try to be at least.
Yes. That is great. It's wonderful to have physical therapists that are providing their time, talents, and their therapy knowledge to various organizations, particularly Special Olympics. Mm-hmm. And in honor of Physical Therapy Month, we are so happy to have you, and we have another guest that's a physical therapist that we will also be sharing as well, and she is Jen Roberts. So without further ado, let's get to know you a little bit and get to know your involvement and your passions within Special Olympics.
Okay.
Okay, so share with us what your involvement and passions within Special Olympics are.
Well, I've been involved with Special Olympics since 1999. Mm-hmm. Special Olympics World Games were held in North Carolina in 1999. And we, as a physical therapy chapter, the North Carolina Physical Therapy Association, was very interested in somehow being involved.
Okay.
And when we approached the organizing committee locally, they said, well, we have, if a PT also has an athletic training degree, you know, they can work with us on the field, but we don't provide therapy during a World Games event. So otherwise, we don't see a way for you to be involved. Yeah. And so the president of our chapter at that time, Louise Yerko, and I didn't like that answer. So we went to the American Physical Therapy Association and talked with a person who worked in practice at the time. His name is Alan Vicki. And he approached Special Olympics International and said, we are really interested in being involved. What can we do? And they had started to develop some health screenings. And they were working with two disciplines already, optometry and dental. And they wanted to expand those screenings during the World Games in North Carolina because they realized that our Special Olympic athletes were probably medically underserved with health care. So, so Special Olympics came back to us and said, develop a screening for us. And so we did.
Wonderful.
We had a task force with the North Carolina PT Association. We developed a flexibility screen, and then we did that during the World Games. And Special Olympics Incorporated International liked it so much, and they wanted to expand their health offerings, and they saw real value in a functional assessment, that they said they really wanted us to continue working with them. Okay. And they wanted to do it as a partnership with the American Physical Therapy Association. So Donna Bainbridge, who is one of my colleagues as another global advisor, was on APTA staff at the time. And so she and I worked together to expand on the health screening that we do, which is now Fun Fitness, and to include flexibility, balance, strength, and cardiovascular fitness, and pilot it, and then again kind of launch it during the World Games in Alaska in 2001. So we have been a part of Healthy Athletes ever since then. We are now worldwide, and we have been in every World Games since North Carolina. And we have been training other physical therapists around the world to also run these events in their own states and provinces and countries.
Wonderful. So it's great to see and hear that physical therapists have such great presence in helping communities achieve better and better health making sure that they're prepared and ready for their actual sports events.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also taking that and promoting health and wellness within the athletes. So that's wonderful. Share with us about Special Olympics and the history, mission, and objectives of Special Olympics.
Special Olympics was founded by Eunice Kennedy Shriver in her backyard in 1962. She has had a sister named Rose Kennedy Shriver, and Rose inspired her to realize that those with intellectual disabilities are generally hidden or have been hidden, have not received the same type of personal freedoms and privileges, and have not been seen as equal citizens within our country to start. And that story continues actually around the world. So she decided that she wanted to create sporting events. She felt that sport and activity was something that everybody can participate in and improve in. And so she created Special Olympics as a camp. It was Camp Shriver in her backyard. And then she started gathering support and financial support, and she went to Congress, and she gradually started building Special Olympics. And the first Special Olympics, I think it was World Games, was held in Chicago. And we are actually going to celebrate our 50th year this coming up in 2018. So
I didn't read about that.
Yeah, so it was 1968 was the first World Games.
What a
in
movement!
Chicago.
What a movement and a milestone.
Yes.
That has made 50 years, since that game.
And it has grown exponentially. When I started working with Special Olympics in 1999, I think we had 1 million athletes.
Wow.
We are now over 5 million athletes worldwide.
Wow, that's excellent.
So we do feel pretty strongly that the addition of the health component to Special Olympics is a contributing factor to that growth over the past 18 years or so.
Absolutely, and that's where physical therapy presence is contributing to the health community and various programs that are offered for Special Olympics.
That's right.
So that's
right.
wonderful, wonderful. So as a global advisor, as well as one of the founding members of Fun Fitness, tell us what are the various components of Fun Fitness?
Sure. Fun Fitness is a screening which looks at flexibility, balance, strength, and cardiovascular fitness. And then based on all of those components have different assessments that have been pulled from evidence, either using evidence-based practices that have been already done within the population, or as we found, there were some tests that hadn't been done within the population. So we pulled from testing that had been done in other populations that we thought were going to be similar in performance or demographic.
Sure.
So all of our tests are evidence-based, and as we go through, we have norms that we look at the athletes and try to decide whether somebody's having difficulty in one area or another, and also consider the sport that they're competing in, and their age. And at the end, we have an education area and materials where we can go through, and we have physical therapists who show the athletes different types of exercises that they can do once they go home. And when possible, we also try to talk with the coaches and their families to help them know what we've asked the athletes to try to do as well.
That's great.
So
you get the involvement of the coaches and of course family members.
We try to, and in most situations, especially in our programs that happen at the state level, and even more locally than that, county levels, we can very easily engage the athletes and their coaches and families because they tend to all travel together. When we are at larger games, like World Games, athletes are separated into their teams and their families are are in a different space. So they don't travel with the athlete when they're going through our healthy athlete venue.
Interesting.
But the coaches are generally with them, so we can talk with the coaches
Sure.
about what we would like the athlete to follow through with.
Interesting. And so, are there differences between the Special Olympics statewide within the United States and globally within different countries?
Differences.
Differences in terms of their actual programs that they provide, specifically the healthy programs.
All right, well, Special Olympics, and the way that Special Olympics is organized, we have Special Olympics International, which is based in Washington, D.C. And Special Olympics International is kind of the hub of information. So Special Olympics itself is divided into a sports programs and then the health programs.
Okay.
And in the health programs and healthy athletes, we have 7 disciplines. Of different health screens.
Okay.
So within once you have Special Olympics International, then each state or province or country that decides to have Special Olympics can decide what they want to offer to the athletes in their community. So they may choose to engage, they figure out what sports would be best, if they're in more of a warm environment, they're going to look at the track and field and soccer and baseball and things like that. But if they're in a colder climate, they may start with a winter sport.
Sure.
So they choose what sports they want to offer, and Special Olympics International has the coaching manuals and the instructions on how to do it, how to support it, and also can help with some financial support. With the health programs, it's the same thing. So each program can decide which of the health programs they want to do. And they usually, start with 1 or 2, and then they start adding more. Because we have to train the people that are going to run them, and so we have to identify those leaders in the community to become clinical directors. And we have a formalized training system to teach the professionals how to run the events, and then they could start running them in their own communities.
That's wonderful. So you have, of course, local games, and then you have regional and worldwide games as well.
Right.
So that's great. So it's exciting to see that Special Olympics is everywhere throughout the world.
Actually, I invite everybody to go to their website and review information on their website, but there is, I think, a data point on the website that says that there are at least, I'm trying to remember this, maybe 4 or 5 events, Special Olympic events, run every day.
Wow.
Around the world.
Wow.
Somewhere around the world.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
it is a huge program.
Yes. Wow. So you mentioned that there are over 5 million athletes. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the qualifications to be an athlete within Special Olympics?
The underlying qualification for all of our athletes are the intellectual disability. And we have athletes who have an intellectual disability for many different reasons.
Sure.
There are different diagnoses, there are different birth defects. So there's the common denominator is the intellectual disability. And the intellectual disability is people can qualify for Special Olympics because they find that they are not able to participate with the other community sports because of their disability, which could create problems with processing or following directions or behavior issues and things like that. So, and the reason I say that is because we have athletes who are very highly physically functioning. Athletes with a diagnosis of ADHD, which you would not think, oh, why would they be in Special Olympics? But they cannot participate in their other community programs because of maybe behavior issues.
Okay.
And then we have athletes that are very, very also physically disabled. So we have athletes that are participating, and we with wheelchairs or walkers or braces or so it's a program that will accommodate all of those athletes.
That's great. It's great to know that even though they may have physical disabilities, that they allow accommodation so that they can participate in the sports-related activities that they're involved in.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. The
And
joy. Oh, I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, and we also don't have an age limit. So an athlete can start participating at the age of 8, but they can participate until whenever they want to.
Oh, wow.
So we have athletes that I've screened that have been in their 60s and 70s, and I heard recently of an athlete that was in their 90s.
That is amazing.
So
Wow.
I think that's sometimes a misinformation is that Special Olympics is only for children,
Right.
but it's not. Our average age right now is about 35.
Okay.
So we have a lot of adults. I'm a geriatric clinical specialist, and I get the question all the time, why are you involved in Special Olympics? And I said, because we have athletes that are getting older
Right.
within our population, and so
And that's
we
great.
have to
That's,
look at those issues.
yes, that's great to know that they can get involved, participate in sports, and also have the benefits of health promotions and learn more about health and wellness and how they can continue to strive to be even healthier.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's great.
Yes, and the program is working very hard right now to really promote health and wellness throughout the year with the athletes and their families. So we're working very hard on developing more fitness messaging, more fitness programs which are offered throughout the year to the athletes, just like you and I want to
Right?
be healthy and potentially do a fitness program and maybe go to Weight Watchers or something like that. These athletes need to have that kind of support and information as well, and provided to them in a way that they understand, that their families can support them in, or that the Special Olympics program can support them in, and that we know works
Yes.
for them.
Yes, absolutely. And injury prevention, that's very important too. As they continue to excel in their sports activities, we want to make sure that they're also practicing injury prevention techniques so that they don't have an injury. Sometimes it is, right, where we can't actually not get away from having an injury. Sometimes these things do happen. But in preventative cases, it's good to have that knowledge and information where you can prevent injuries as well.
Right.
And that's a part of health and wellness, right? Is you always want to feel good, you want to look good, and want to make sure our makeup is great inside as well.
Right.
But you also want to prevent different types of conditions and injuries and illnesses. And the practice of health and wellness is very important in order to have a quality of life, not only today, but for years to come.
Absolutely.
People are living, as we know, years and years later than the average, and the average is compared to what it was maybe about 20 years ago, even 50 years ago. And so it's important to practice good health and wellness.
Absolutely.
Worldwide.
And we're finding that in the progression and maturation of the Special Olympics program, it started as the sports organization and the way that all of the games were held. It was the athletes would come together as a team or come together to practice if it was track and field and things like that, about 6 weeks before their event, and then they would do the event, and then they would stop. And if an athlete was involved in multiple sports, then another sport might pick up. A winter sport might pick up, and they would participate in that. But if an athlete only participated in one event a year, then they might only be active in that sport with Special Olympics for that one event a year.
Sure.
As the health programs have been kind of brought into Special Olympics, and the health professionals have been able to start providing the screens, and in the findings of the screens, we've been able to talk more with the sporting organization, sporting part of Special Olympics, and providing information to the coaches, which is something that Donna and I have been trying to do through the years, is talking with coaches and talking with Special Olympic program directors about the importance of what we're finding and how we can try to help the coaches with their coaching techniques. And I think there's become a general awareness, especially through Tim Shriver, who has seen, which is Eunice Kennedy Shriver's son, and the current CEO of Special Olympics. He's our main advocate out there in the world. And he is very passionate about the health and well-being of the athletes. Yes. So under his leadership, it's the discussion about year-round health and wellness, really getting the athletes to participate in things beyond the sports that they participate in. And all of the coaches and the program directors see that does help the athlete in their level of competition.
Excellent.
So I think that there's been a real embracing of looking at the athlete as what happens in the whole year and not just in that 6 to 8 week period of time.
Yes. And
also addressing with the families the importance, so that the families can also participate and support and go on that journey with their athlete.
Absolutely, that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal and very important. Now, how does a sports organization become a public health organization? That you shared that it has evolved so much over the years with providing the opportunity for athletes to participate in sports and also having that health and wellness benefit with various health programs that they provide in the communities.
Right.
How does that evolve?
How does it happen?
How did it happen? Yes.
Well, as I said, it started with 2 screens, Opening Eyes and Special Smiles, which are our dental screens and our optometry screens. And in 2001, when Fun Fitness was also during the World Games in Alaska, there was a congressional hearing. And during that hearing, data was presented to the members of Congress that were there to talk about the health disparities that our screenings had found in just those 2 areas, dental and optometry vision. And the amount of data that had been collected through those 2 programs in about 4 or 5 years made an impression on the members of Congress who were in that hearing. And so they allocated money to support the continued growth of the Special Olympics Healthy Athletes Program. And so that money is still allocated, and we do it through a grant process through the Centers of Disease Control. So every year we have to kind of re-request that money to support the health programming. Excuse me, but it did allow us to add the additional screenings that we do, which are Fun Fitness, the physical therapy screen, health promotion, which is our diet, nutrition, just general health promotion activities, sun safety, smoking cessation, weight loss, so education provided to the athletes in all those areas. Healthy hearing, which is audiology, speech-language pathology and audiology. And, excuse me, Fit Feet, which is done generally by podiatrists, but also physical therapists have been involved with that one. It's looking at your feet, your skin, your biomechanics, your nails, shoes that you wear, how you walk, and making recommendations about hygiene and good footwear.
Do they also offer orthotics if an athlete does require that?
We have had some we work with sponsors and partnerships in many of our events. And in like Opening Eyes, they have a partnership, long-standing partnership, where they will make glasses, prescription glasses on site.
Oh.
So they can go through a screen and assessment, and then they have the ability to make the glasses on site, and they're provided to the athletes for free.
Wow.
Our Special Smiles has the ability to make mouth guards for the athletes who are in sports where they might have impact. Opening Eyes also provides sunglasses to the athletes. The Fit Feet, depending on where we are, how large the event is, They have been able to do like heat-sensitive orthotics, or given the athletes and their families the orthotics to take home and say, you know, these are the directions you can do them at home.
Sure.
But we have not been able to do custom orthotics on site. Healthy Hearing is able to provide hearing aids on site with support once the athlete returns home in case they have problems with the battery or the hearing aid itself. MedFest is another discipline which is physician-run that looks at the evaluations that the athletes need to have before they compete. And it's done in a fun and free environment, so the athlete physicals. And then a new one, I have to make sure I grab through them all. The new one is Strong Minds, which is looking at the athlete's ability to compete and handle stressful environments. So just like you or I, you know, sometimes we're in a space and it gets really stressful, and we have a lot of athletes that they get into environments that are highly active and fun and loud, and it's just a lot for them to handle. Plus they're competing.
Sure.
So we have that competitive stress. Right. So Strong Minds is to help them with relaxation techniques, trying to talk with them about deep breathing, and we have some like full body stretches that they've developed and can provide information about, stress balls, and just talking with the athletes about ways to manage stress when they're at events in a home and things like that.
Right. Wow. The health impact of all of these resources within Special Olympics and what they do in terms of providing the sports activities to the athletes, what a joy, and then providing all the resources, the tools that they require to live a healthy life.
Yeah.
That is amazing, and I love it. I love that they are going out into communities, not only locally, nationally and regionally and internationally, but globally, providing all the tools, the resources, and everything that they need so that people can have a quality of life and enjoy life.
Well, a huge aspect of Special Olympics is advocacy. One of the main reasons that the Shrivers, I believe, have been successful is that they are not afraid to go anywhere.
Sure.
And they understand that it's very important to get the positive message of what the athletes are able to do, what they can accomplish to all areas of the world, where many athletes, many of those with intellectual disabilities, are still hidden.
Sure.
And institutionalized and just pulled away from society. So Tim Shriver has a very strong passion for the advocacy, and they have developed programs for the athletes, athlete leadership programs, athlete health leadership programs, global messengers, state messengers, where opportunities where athletes who may not be competing in the sport anymore, but can still participate as representatives and positive messengers in their communities and around the world to continue to let people know how valuable and equal they are to everybody else.
Yes.
And I think we also have partnerships. As far as your question, going back to your question about how we become a public health organization, just through those disciplines, number one, we collect data on every athlete that is screened. So we have the largest database of health for those with ID around the world. So that's one thing that we have. And number two is that we've had some additional sponsorships, namely the Golisano Foundation, which has given us two big donations, one for $12 million and then one for $25 million, because of the work that Special Olympics Healthy Athletes did as far as growing their health programs. And so that's supported us and allowed us to really look at that other programming that takes us outside of what happens during the screen.
Yes.
To really look at how do we affect change in the community? So that's allowed us to develop healthy communities, which are pilot projects, to look at what's happening in different states and countries. How do we start building partnerships at the local level to allow the athletes to live a better well life in their communities? So partnering with universities, health clubs, grocery stores, kind of whatever people are living within their communities, to create an environment so the athletes and their families can continue to live a healthy lifestyle integrated in their community.
Now, sponsorship, can other people just individually get involved with being a sponsor?
Oh, sure. You can. Anybody can go to their website and contribute money. That's
okay, wonderful.
That is not an issue at all.
That's good to know. That is good to know. So we have experienced such a wealth of information about Special Olympics. What an extraordinary organization. Thank you so much, Vicki, Tilley, for being here with us today. I appreciate your time and all that you've been involved in within Special Olympics. It has made a difference in the athletes, and we look forward to hearing so many more advancements that are to come within Special Olympics, and we're excited to see the upcoming games that will be in North Carolina and regionally and internationally. So definitely I invite our guests and our viewers to stay tuned and just watch the Special Olympics games. They are so much fun. I've had an opportunity to volunteer at Special Olympics within the Fun Fitness, and the games are just so much fun. So thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate your time, and continue to do all that you do in the community and with, of course, Special Olympics. You're making a difference, an impact, and that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I will say, just to let you know and everybody know, you can go to the Special Olympics North Carolina website as far as finding out about volunteering, about contributing, about their events, and all the events are free. So they're open to the public, they're free for you to go to, they happen locally all throughout the year. We're very fortunate and blessed that North Carolina has a very strong Special Olympics program. So I invite everybody to kind of get involved.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. So stay tuned for some endearing moments within the Special Olympics athletes' experiences. And after that, we have a new guest. She's also a physical therapist, and her name is Jen Roberts, and she is another physical therapist of excellence. So she will share with us what advancements they've made in North Carolina, here in North Carolina. So stay tuned. Well, welcome back once again, and we're so glad that you've tuned in for this episode. Again, we are sharing so much about Special Olympics, and today we have another special guest. She is physical therapist of excellence number 2, Jen Roberts, and she's going to share with us her involvement at the North Carolina state level. She does so much in the community with Special Olympics and just in the community in general. And we're so glad to have her here sharing with us all that is occurring in North Carolina with Special Olympics. So without further ado, I introduce you and welcome Jen Roberts. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're so wonderful. I've had an opportunity to work with you a little bit in Special Olympics, and I'll tell you, so many people love you. You shine, and just being in the background scenes with some of the other therapists, therapy assistants, and students, they just sung your praises. So it was nice for me to see firsthand how wonderful of a person you are, but also to hear that people love you as well. So you are one of the clinical directors of Special Olympics in North Carolina, that level, and you just do so many great things in the community within North Carolina. So share with us your involvement and your passions within Special Olympics.
Absolutely. Well, I started with Special Olympics in 2011 as a volunteer, and I volunteered with a friend of mine who's also a therapist, and we went to the fall games in High Point and we were hooked. The energy from the athletes, from the parents, from the coaches, from the other volunteers is just infectious.
Yes.
It's amazing. And so it became a continued thing. Whenever there was a state games, we went, we participated.
Very nice.
And in 2013, I had the opportunity to become a clinical director to kind of help facilitate some events.
Yes.
So that was pretty exciting. And so I've been doing that since that time with the other clinical directors. So it's been a really great experience with that. And as a physical therapist, one of our core values is social responsibility.
Absolutely.
And looking at health and wellness of our athletes and serving an underserved population.
Yes.
And with the Special Olympics athletes, a lot of the athletes, this is their very first opportunity to have access to preventative health care.
Right.
So I think that's where we really come into play, and I really like being involved on that ground level and trying to get other therapists involved with this as well.
Yes, which is great. When I heard that physical therapists and the field of physical therapy had great presence in Special Olympics, I always sought after being effective in the community, and so I reached out and wanted to get involved, and it was such a wonderful experience. It's a day of excitement, a day of joy, just seeing a lot of the athletes that are coming in, and they're all just so happy and excited, and they just give you so much more energy. As you mentioned, it's infectious. They give you so much energy, and I just love it. That experience is great. It really is, so it's wonderful. So share with us about Fun Fitness. As a clinical director, share with us what a typical day at Fun Fitness is like. How is everything set up? How many therapists do you typically require? And how the whole operation takes place.
All right. Well, it takes a little bit of planning. Every event is at somewhere different. So we have to go in and look at the floor plan, see what will be the best flow, things like that. A screening normally from start to finish will take anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes for the athlete. There's a sign-in area where we get all their initial information, and then they have 5 different screening areas. 4 where they are actually assessed, which include aerobic, fitness, balance, strength, and flexibility. If an area is identified that they need a little bit more education on, it kind of falls outside the norms, which all the norms we print on the sheets to help with the screeners, who are the therapists and therapy students. Then they indicate that on the form. And the athletes also get a little exercise packet called a scorecard.
Yes.
And they take that to each station, and if there's an exercise they need to work on or an area of improvement, that gets circled. After they go through all 4 stations, they go to the education station where they get to work with a therapist or therapy student on the areas they need to improve. So that can take a little time for one-on-one activity. And what's great is they get the scorecard back and they can take that to their coaches, to their family. They can use it at home. It just gives them a little bit more information. So they get really excited about having that and know exactly what they need to work on. So it's a really great experience. We typically need about 50 or more clinical volunteers, lots of volunteers, and at least 10 non-clinical volunteers, which include family, friends, undergrads who are just interested in physical therapy, anybody who wants to come out and help. My husband's even been one of the non-clinical volunteers, and he's mentioned, I've never been at an event where so many people were so happy and
Yes.
smiling all the time. He's like, it was just a lot of positive energy. So sometimes even family members who've never seen like what this is all about is a really great experience.
It's a blessing. It was a blessing for me that day. You know, when you think that, okay, I'm going to have a Saturday where I go and I provide some of my assistance and just be with people, and then by the end of the day, you know, you're just like, wow, what an experience, because they bring so much joy. You know, the athletes of Special Olympics, they bring so much joy to us and so much energy. I remember when I was actually at one of the stations, the cardiovascular stations, and we did a step test and I remember 3 athletes that are so vivid in my mind, and they were just the athletes that had so much power and energy, and they wanted to excel.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of athletes that want to excel, but these 3 I vividly remember. And so we started them, and we monitor their heart rate, of course, and check their blood pressure. And we were monitoring the heart rate. And I remember these 3 athletes, they got started on the step test, they were doing their fit test, and we said, okay, it's time, it's up. And they were just looking at us like, what's next? Is that all you have? So it was just fun. You know, for the average person, we would need a break, but they were just so excited and exuberant and ready to just participate.
Absolutely.
And it was wonderful to see, and it just brings so much energy within the whole environment. So that was definitely great to see. So you talked about volunteers. We have the North Carolina Games that will be in November. November
Yes.
4th, is it?
November 4th,
Yes.
our fall games.
Yes,
will
our
be
fall games. So that's exciting.
Yes.
And Charlotte?
in Charlotte, and we will be looking for volunteers for that event, and that anybody can come out. If you're a licensed physical therapist or physical therapist assistant, if you're a student physical therapist or student physical therapist assistant in a program, you're welcome to come out. No experience necessary, except we just want people with lots of energy, who are
Yes.
kind, compassionate, and flexible, because you never know what's going to happen. We have the screenings, but everyone's different, and that's what we need to remember. And so we also need non-clinical volunteers. So if you want to bring a family member or a friend or something like that, you're welcome to bring them out as well, to kind of help with signing the athletes in and helping with them facilitate the areas and the different screening sessions.
And so how do people that desire to volunteer, how do they notify Special Olympics or yourself that they want to sign up to volunteer for Fun Fitness?
Yes, they can email us at ncfunfitness@gmail.com and just indicate that you're interested in volunteering, and we'll send you an email back just getting a little information from you. We also send out emails once we put you on our list. You'll get emails every time there's an event. And also we do blastcasts through the NCPTA as well. So if you email us, we can get you on the list and get involved.
Yes, and it's great. So come out. Remember, November 4th, that's when the Fall Games, Special Olympics Fall Games, will occur in Charlotte. And we want everyone to be involved in North Carolina and, of course, locally in Charlotte areas. It's a wonderful experience to see, to witness, to volunteer, and just a great organization to get involved in. So definitely go to the website, and then also you can email to provide information about yourself and your interest in volunteering.
And even if you can't make November 4th, send us your email, get it on the list, because we're also trying to do more local events and also and then we have summer games that comes up in June every year. So even if you can't make this one, get on the list, and hopefully you can make some other of our events coming up.
And are there typically, on average, 2 events per year?
Yes, there's 2 major state events, one in November, and now it'll be the Charlotte area. It used to be in the High Point area, and one in June for the summer games are the major state events. But we're really trying to get a little bit more going on the local levels as well. So even if somebody's involved with their school, student physical therapist assistants, if they have a program director that would like to do something locally, get in touch with us, and we would really help facilitate that, because the more we can start screening at a local level as well, it would be great. I mean, at the state level, we touch about 3,500
Oh, wow.
athletes. We have the potential to.
Yes.
We typically screen anywhere from 75 to a little over 100 of those athletes who attend. But there are
Yes.
40,000 athletes in the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
So
That's wonderful.
that's a lot of folks we have the potential to interact with.
Yes, and hence we need more volunteers.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and again, it's just so much fun. So much fun. So tell me a little bit more about Fun Fitness. I know that you mentioned there are so many different areas that are being assessed physically. Are the athletes able to use any adaptive equipment or any adaptive devices? For example, in the clinic, we have many people that come to us and they may have multiple conditions. Of course, we have assessments and tools that we use to evaluate them. So we basically treat the entire person and we accommodate based on what their conditions are and what their needs are. So is that the same within Fun Fitness? When you perform your standardized testing, are you able to accommodate maybe if they're in a wheelchair, or maybe if they have some devices that assist them with ambulatory? So
Yeah, so,
Okay.
well, of course, that we have the standardized tests that we're collecting data as well to kind of see what's going on with all our athletes. We do, for example, aerobic fitness. If someone can't do the step test, we have a 5-minute wheel test that we do, so we can accommodate that. Like for strength for push-ups, if someone can't get on the floor and do the push-up from the floor, we may use a mat table or use something else for them to do that. So within still doing the test and not changing it too much, we can accommodate some. We also have the options that if an athlete just does not want to perform the test, that's okay. We just indicate that. Or if they're unable to understand the directions, we indicate that. Even if they can't perform it, we still want them to try.
Right.
And even if we change it a little bit so that they can achieve some part of the test, we still want to do that. Even though we may not collect that particular data, we still want to try.
Yes,
in
absolutely. And it's good to hear that there's education that's provided as a whole, so that the coaches and the family members can assist these athletes after the day of the event and Fun Fitness activities, that they can go home and just continue to work on their flexibility, their strength, their cardiovascular conditioning, and so many other functional areas that they use every day with movement and functional activities. So it's great that they have that educational tool that you provide them, that they can continue to focus on for their own quality of life, but also in preparation for the next event.
Exactly.
Because it's every 6 months, so you have to be prepared. So that's great in providing them that information. So it's been really interesting to hear a lot about Special Olympics. Does it require a lot of planning to get the different Fun Fitness programs together and then employed out at the different games that occur?
We work together. We've been doing this for a long time. So the main thing is getting enough volunteers.
Okay.
We have really great support from Special Olympics North Carolina, and getting the place set up for the games and getting our materials there and everything. So that's wonderful. We have a great support system. So it's mainly just getting the volunteers out there. Before they volunteer, we send out a bunch of information, videos, printed materials, and things like that to make sure they understand what they'll be doing while they're there. So it takes some planning, but no more than anything else I'd like to say, because it's a labor of love.
It is a labor of love and such a worthy cause.
Absolutely.
So it's wonderful. And yes, you mentioned before, I remember the first time that I volunteered, is just the support from the clinical directors of Fun Fitness and providing a wealth of information, just a review of the various tests that we have to perform. Of course, as a physical therapist, and we are skilled in doing that, but it's great to just refresh that, okay, these are the tests that we're going to be performing, and they're standardized tests. And so it's good to have that preliminary reminder of what we'll be doing that day, so that once we get there for that day, that event, we are ready to hit the ground running and just have a great time doing what we love to do and providing physical therapy services, doing the assessments, providing the education, and just being there for these athletes. And you know, part of it is not only providing the assessments and the education, but providing love through just a smile, a handshake, just being there.
Absolutely.
And they are so appreciative of it, and it's such a great day of events. So I encourage the viewers to definitely attend a game and also consider volunteering. You will be blessed, like I've been blessed, and I'm sure Jen has been blessed over the years that she's volunteered, the years that she served as clinical director. And we look forward to seeing how you will continue to shine and serve as clinical director within Special Olympics. So thank you so much
Thank you
for your
having me.
time. Thank you for coming and sharing with our viewers and myself all that you do for Special Olympics. And we're so excited. We can't wait until the fall games in just a couple weeks. And we look forward to seeing it and participating as well. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing all that North Carolina has to offer for Special Olympics.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you.